Minister, it has been brought to our attention that STARLINK is actually operating in South Africa. And that being the case, it's operating illegally in this country. And I'll tell you why. There's an organization, a company called ICASA, Sepush.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Once again, welcome to South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and there from international news when it is trending enough to be brought here. Please do understand that I'm not a politician. I do not have deep knowledge in politics. However, I am a South African citizen who is also a voter, and I do believe that my views count when it comes to political affairs of our beautiful country. Let us talk STARLINK and the company that was providing the Starlink services in South Africa illegally. ICASA has come out to confirm that indeed this is true. And I noticed the name that they've given to this company, ICASA Sepush. Like, for me, it sounds like the criminal move, the mafia move, so that if you question if this is legal, then when you see that name ICASA Sepush with that ICASA at the beginning, you sort of feel comfortable that ICASA knows maybe they are in partnership or they've gotten the clearance from ICASA. Now, the other thing is, I have seen a video clip, but I couldn't save it. I saw it on TikTok. I couldn't save it. I tried saving it, but the person has protected that information. The person says, no, actually, even STARLINK, SpaceX does not support the business that was operating in South Africa because they've blacklisted the devices that were being distributed by ICASA Sepush. So ICASA Sepush has been out of business for long. Also, ICASA says they've confiscated some certain equipment from ICASA Sepush, but it sounds like they are still operating. But I'm not going to keep you for long. I need you to hear from ICASA themselves so that you hear where the story lies. But as things stand, to me, this looks so deep. A very well coordinated criminal operation. They calls for concerns, right? Please do watch what ICASA said, and I'll be back right at the end with my closing commentary.
At STARLINK, the satellite internet service run by Elon Musk's SpaceX, may be operating in South Africa without the necessary regulatory approval. ICASA has confirmed that it has formally contacted SpaceX for clarification and is currently awaiting their response. Meanwhile, the authority has launched a formal investigation to uncover the facts and gather all relevant evidence. We are now joined by the ICASA chairperson, Mutibi Ramusi, who will provide more insights to this important issue. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
Good morning, Alden. Good morning.
Let's start off with the investigation. So when you were in Parliament last week, the issue was raised by a Member of Parliament from the MKPARTY that STARLINK has been operating illegally in the country. The Minister said he doesn't know about this, but surely ICASA does, because in 2022 there was a notice that was issued of relating to reports that STARLINK is operating illegally. Since that notice came out, did you do any investigations?
Well, thank you very much for the invitation, and good morning to the viewers and those that are listening. Perhaps before I start, let me send our condolences to the Honorable Sithole's family. He was the member of the Portfolio Committee on Communication and Digital Technologies. He was a very good man, and I think on behalf of ICASA, we send our condolences, even to his party, the IFP. Now, coming back to the issue that you've just raised, it's true, this matter of STARLINK, it's not starting this year. I must put it on record that as an authority, we've been made aware as early as 2022, 2023, and why there was a company called ICASA Sepush. And as you know, we've got citizens that are very loyal. Now, upon hearing all these issues, we actually went out on an investigation. In the Northern Cape, we confiscated equipment which related to SpaceX, because as we talk, the company SpaceX is the one that owns STARLINK in terms of their technology. So knowing that in South Africa, we do have rules and regulations within our prescripts, anyone in this country that has got an interest to provide services in the telecommunication broadcasting and postal sector, especially if you're going to use spectrum as well. You need to have an appropriate license. Now, in this instance, we're dealing with a situation where anyone that is found in this country providing a service without that authority, it's illegal. So this company called ICASA Push, it has been providing equipment. Obviously, they do have a commercial agreement with SpaceX. Now, in terms of our operation over and above our license, you need to have what you call a type approval. So when you've got equipment that you need to connect, provide services, ICASA, as an institution, that's where you start in terms of getting all the certification. So in this instance, we're dealing with those two things. It's somebody who's utilizing technology which is not type approved, utilizing a satellite that you need to get certification from us. Now, on the 21st of May this year, I must indicate and confirm to the viewers that as an authority, we wrote to a company, SpaceX, and the reason was we just wanted to get affirmation because, you know, sometimes you have fake news, and as an authority, with the limitations that we have in terms of monitoring equipment and tools, I took it upon myself, obviously supported by Council and our EXCO, and SpaceX has since responded. And I must say that the response worried me as well as a chair, because whilst they recognize that operating in a country without proper permits, it's not permissible, the company ICASA Push, they've indicated to us as an authority that they've now instructed them to cease operating or even distributing any equipment that is aligned to their business, especially in this country. So now you can imagine, Eldrin, you know, if you've got a bed that is floating and you've got footage in your country, and somebody can find a way of operating your satellite, from a security point, it's an issue that should be a concern to us as an authority. But because we've got collaborations with other state institutions, I have immediately, on behalf of the authority, been engaging with SANZA, which is our National Space Agency. As you know, amongst other things that they do, they provide tracking, tracing, and control for those that launches satellites all over the world. So we've got a very good state-of-art facility in this country. I've engaged with the security cluster as well, and the intention is, over and above us as an authority, being on the ground, engaging with communities, identifying something that looks illegal in this country. As part of our collaboration is to bring in other institutions, because this requires a collaboration, because as I said, if security is at risk, as an authority, being part of the International Telecommunication Union, all member states have made commitments that as and when you provide services in any country, you must observe the local rules. And in this instance, as an authority, we just want to instill discipline that as much as we encourage investors to come to South Africa, the first institution, if you know that you've got equipment that requires spectrum, come to the authority. And that's what I would like to encourage even South Africans that have got an interest to partner with foreign entities to say, if you are in doubt, come to visit our social media platforms, come to ICASA, all the 9 provinces we've got present, so that we don't find ourselves in this instance.
Yep. Is that confirmation from Starlink or SpaceX that they have been operating in the country illegally without the necessary regulatory support and approval?
Just to put it on record, as I've indicated, they've indicated a company called ICASA Push. I've got in evidence, they've written to them, instructing them to cease whatever operations that they have. Now, obviously, for an authority, what becomes very important for me to understand from a technology point of view is if those that are claiming that they are able to connect and provide access to internet through SpaceX, which is now a STARLINK, my worry, obviously, and as an authority, is what kind of a workaround is it making it possible for somebody, even when we have instructed SpaceX to cease their operations? Because the only way, you know, with satellite, you need to inform those that are providing to say your downlink and your uplink signals should be shut down. And that's the instruction that we have done as an authority. So I'll be more worried if today anyone can come and say, ICASA, I do have evidence that somewhere in this country, somebody has been able to connect. I have seen newspaper clips yesterday. I still have to confirm. We have seen that there's a media statement from even ICASA push instructing all their customers, informing about the instruction that we have issued as an authority. Even from SpaceX, I've asked, because there's been a media report yesterday indicating that SpaceX is informing all potential or even clients in South Africa that the roaming agreement that is in place will be deactivated. So, but I've asked for that clarity as well.
What roaming agreement is in place? Because this is not the first time, as we have agreed, that ICASA has come out to say that Starlink's operations would be unlawful. And even back then, there was a promise by Starlink and SpaceX instructing people that are using its services to stop using those services. So clearly it has been continuing.
Yeah, sorry. I think one thing that I just wanted to give you some comfort as citizens as well. We have signed MOUs with some of our sister regulators. Now, obviously, I'll be engaging council, and the good news is I've got new councillors who are joining as well. FCC, as one of the regulators in the US, there's nothing that stops us as an authority to engage directly with the FCC. And given the fact that we are all members of the ITU, again, in terms of good governance and good practice, one might be tempted to go to the ITU and report these instances, because we have signed agreements, frameworks, where those that have got interest to participate in our countries, they need to obey legislative frameworks. So in this instance, there are avenues that one is going to explore. But other than that, within SADC, in something that I've been saying to my colleagues, that let's go to countries that have already licensed Starlink, bring the equipment in this country, let me switch on and see whether is it true roaming, is not activated, because technically, sometimes you need to do these things practically. But I am going to use the partnerships, the collaborations that we have entered into, especially if I'm mentioning the FCC in the US and the ITU, because a activity of this nature should be discouraged, because in terms of governance, if one does not respect any other country's rules and regulation, that becomes a problem.
Yeah. So is it fair then, Chair, to say that since the last warning, nothing has happened?
Well, we have issued notices, and I think practically...
But since those notices were issued, nothing really has happened. There were no repercussions for Eskom, also for ICASA push, or even Starlink or SpaceX.
Well, with ICASA push, what we have done, given the name ICASA push, even if you can look at the logo, it's almost close to what we have as ICASA. We have taken them to the tribunal, company tribunal. They were instructed actually to cease using the name. At one stage, we were told that they were operating in Mozambique, but now recently we have seen them resurfacing in the country. It's something that our legal is pursuing again, because the name ICASA, as it is right now, it's a registered trade name for us.
Yeah, I totally understand that. But I want to go back to the operations happening after the notice that was issued in November 2022. Nothing has happened to ICASA push or Starlink or SpaceX. So there's no repercussions, no steps were taken by ICASA against those three entities.
Yeah, already give you confidence. As I've indicated, I've joined ICASA as a chair.
I totally understand that. I totally understand that.
I gave you,
but as the current chairperson, it was the acting chairperson at the time that had issued that notice.
Yes.
So can we confirm that since those notices were issued, nothing happened to ICASA push, Starlink or SpaceX? There were no repercussions.
I have written to SpaceX.
Now you've written to them.
Yes.
So going back to 2022, November of 2022, since November of 2022, has anything happened up until last week when the MP then raised the issue around Starlink operating illegally in the country? Nothing has happened.
We have engaged, as I indicated. ICASA push, we've gone through the tribunal. We've taken action in that. We've issued a notice.
That's over the logo.
Yeah, but remember, Alrin, in terms of our legislative framework, there are processes. Now, in terms of confiscated, remember I gave you some sequence of events. We have confiscated equipment. That's the first part, because that's part of our mandate, that anyone found operating or selling equipment that is not even type approved, we must take action. We have taken an action. We have taken action against the ICASA push. I've indicated now, SpaceX directly as an institution, we have now taken action by engaging them directly. The 2022 to date, as an institute, we have been communicating through our communication plans to say that anyone who doesn't have authority must cease to operate.
But no repercussions.
I can safely say that if we are talking about writing to SpaceX, engaging them, I've done that. We have done that as an institution.
Okay.
Yeah.
So legislation says that companies that are found guilty can be fined around 10% of annual turnover. I know that SpaceX doesn't exist in the country, but it is operating according to the information that you have now received as well, and the confiscation of some of their equipment. What action is going to be taken against them? What's the repercussion?
Yeah, currently the repercussion, as I've indicated, I'm going to engage FCC, ITU, recognizing that the legislative that we are managing, we talk about licensed entities.
Yeah.
Now, if the company that we're talking about has got presence in the country, CIPC will then have to assist us as well, just to check whether from the records we've got a company called SpaceX, whether it's linked to even the mother company in the US. So we'll be guided by all legislative frameworks that we have, obviously guided by our legal team within ICASA. So those are the steps that we'll be taking, Oren.
Just earlier on, you were speaking about issues around security concerns. If Starlink then gets to operate in South Africa, if it does, it's a big if, is there an issue at all around the securing of the data and the security, the sovereignty of the country being at stake? Is that an issue at all for ICASA?
Well, I think the good news for us is that we do have a data and cloud policy in South Africa, which prescribed how information should be kept and should be managed in this country. So when it relates to anyone, by the way, not just Starlink, let me put it open to anyone. This could be data center operators, and we've always had satellite operators in this country. I mean, right now, I'm sitting in this studio, we might be connected through one of the geostationary providers. So when it comes to information, currently South Africa, when it comes to storage, there are data centers that are located in the country. The policy encourages, and it's part of the law, that you as person operating in this country, the information that gets stored, it needs to be residing within the borders of South Africa. Anyone that has got data centers offshore, I'm sure in terms of your commercial agreements, if it's not government, I think private sector, one will have to look at what kind of arrangements are done. But we have seen a number of data centers that are being built in this country where information is being kept. So even for any LEO or geospatial operators, when it comes to data storage, data use and data distribution, the policy, first of all, it encourages that this must happen in for South Africa.
If you watched up to here, I'd like to say thank you for watching my videos. I highly appreciate that. And the next time you bump into my videos, kindly watch my ads in full. That support really goes a long way. And don't forget to share your own views in the comment section. I'm looking forward to reading those. I'm going to respond when time allows me, but should time not allow me, I am certainly going to react to show you that I appreciate your participation in my channel. Do have a beautiful day.